if I look and act tired, it's because I am. We just got back from the most amazing trip to Israel with some of the greatest people I've ever met and ever been blessed to get to know. So traveling to Israel, well, coming back, we had about 30 hours of travel time, including layovers and everything else. And we got back about midnight or so last night, and to bed about 1:30. And everybody, had the same thing on our trip. Some left a little bit later. Some are continuing other trips. We had people there was 15 of us. We had Utah, Idaho, Wyoming, Arizona, Canada. Texas. Texas. So we had a good smattering of folks. This was through Legacy Tours, and I got asked to be, I don't know, a guide, I guess. But Chris Kimball, she was the trip manager, and as well as a huge contributor to talking about the different sites and things. It was just awesome. And these folks, I'll protect their names to protect the innocent, but I just want to give a shout out to all of you. I love you and feel so blessed to have had the opportunity to do this trip. When you do trips like this, you really get close and in a hurry, and you develop a kinship. And I won't say we had Israel all to ourselves, but it was amazing. If any of you have gone and just visited, like, say, the Holy Sepulchre, you could wait 2 hours plus if you wanted to go into the tomb. The first time we went as a group, we maybe waited 5 minutes, and the next time some of us went back, there was nobody there. We just walked right in. But being in Israel at this time, it was such a blessing in so many ways. So some of us, our flight got delayed. We missed our connecting flight in Paris. So we spent the night, and then the next day in Paris till our flight took off. And that day we went to Notre Dame, the cathedral that just recently had reopened. It was such a blessing. And there was one great guy on our trip who said, I didn't think I'd ever get to see, and it was on his bucket list, to see Notre Dame. And because of our flight delay, he got to see that, and we got to see it. It was awesome. Others made their connection coming from different directions, and so they got to Israel early. And we had an awesome bus driver by the name of Adele, and just the greatest guy, crazy driver, but a good driver, very safe, but just intense. And he set up meals for us, hotel rooms that when we needed some help. He was just amazing. But anyway, so we had that little hiccup. And one thing, when you're traveling on these kind of trips, you really have to go with the flow, because especially in this day and age, there's still some airlines that like they won't arrange for flights to Israel. We felt totally safe. It was just awesome. But I get it. But these brave souls that went with us, they threw caution to the wind. They told their children and grandchildren, and other family members to pound sand, and they said, no, we're going to Israel. And so anyway, we missed a day of some got to see some things that got there on time, but we missed a day of viewing some things. But that was okay, because you just adjust, and that's what you do. But we left Tel Aviv and started up north towards Galilee, and just some of the sights were just amazing. And we stayed at a kibbutz right on Galilee. If you've been there, this kibbutz, which is like a community, Jewish community, they were housing refugees from northern Israel. The news doesn't cover anything like this. The displaced, 80,000 people, and the Jews take care of themselves. You don't hear of any, that we've got to find places for the refugees and da-da-da-da-da. It just happens. And this kibbutz took a lot of people in. It was awesome. We got to meet some of them. They're hoping to get back home to their homes in March. Some have already been able to get back, but that's in different regions. So this would be up in the Golan Heights region and that kind of area up north, where you've got Lebanon on one side and Syria on the other, and you're close there. And so they were living in the kibbutz, and we got to meet them and talk to them and eat with them. They set up school for these kids. We had wonderful rooms. Sunrise, sunset on the Galilee is just... we did the traditional boat ride, but this was unlike one I'd ever been on. It was just our group. There's nobody there. There was hardly anybody there. And he raised the American flag, and we sang our national anthem, and then he raised the Israeli flag. And then we sang that national anthem, which none of us knew, but we tried to listen and mouth the words. And it's like one of our great guys said on the tour. He said, I didn't understand anything, but I sure felt it. And it was awesome. And then we danced. They showed us the dance, a Jewish dance, and it was awesome. And just to be in the land where Jesus walked, where he called his apostles, where Mary Magdalene was, the apostle to the apostles, the most devoted apostle of them all was Mary Magdalene. And to be in the area where all this took place, I never get tired of it. I never get tired of it. This was my fourth trip to Israel. And it's been a couple of years for, actually, 2022, I think, was the last I was there. So maybe 3 years. And because of things, it just didn't happen. So these brave souls in a legacy tour said, hey, would you be willing to do it now? And I said, absolutely. And they took the courage. I highly recommend Legacy Tours. My goodness, they took care of every detail. It was so fun, and it was the places we stayed were amazing, just amazing. We were down at the Dead Sea. The room we got there was kind of funny because there's several with somewhat the same name, and they're connected. And we got one that was, it was just, let's just say it had the lived-in feel. Let's just say that. But the food was good, and the people we met, and they shared. Just in the restaurant, they were blessing their fruits and their vegetables, and they said, "Hey, can we do that with you?" And the kids, and it was just. And this lady that does videos of walking in Israel, we met her and talked to her. It was awesome. The Dead Sea is And the Judean desert wilderness is just so beautiful in its own way. We saw more ibex than I've ever seen. I've seen onesies and twosies here and there. We saw herds of ibex, which is a big thing for me. I love the sheep and the sheep and goats and of the mountains, and the ibex of the Judean wilderness is a particular interesting animal to me. And so to see so many, and the Dead Sea Scrolls, Qumran and Masada, and the saga that happened at Masada, just awesome. Going up to the top there, we had an incredible time there. But let me back up. I'm just wandering around. I'd been to Nazareth, and I've been there a couple of times. Basically went to the church and then the archaeological dig that's around the Church of Annunciation. Beautiful place and very nice. But they have a village that they've recreated, the Nazareth village, that would be at the time of Christ. And the teachings there, I mean, I didn't have anything to add. I learned so much there. They people would dress in character. We had a guide that took us through. We didn't know if we were going to be able to get there because some places just were on a limited basis, that they were open because there's just no tourism going on right now. And we were fortunate to get him. And so that you go from station to station and you learn about olive presses, you learn about all these things, but how they tie into the gospel of Jesus Christ and how Christ taught. It was absolutely amazing. If you ever get a chance to get to Israel, I would go to this, the Bethlehem village, or not Bethlehem, sorry, the Nazareth village. It's incredible, absolutely incredible. We got to Mount Carmel kind of late, and so the gates were locked, but we got up close enough to kind of get some pictures and see the Jezreel Valley, and we went to Mount Precipice, which was amazing, where Christ was driven by the Pharisees as he taught in Nazareth in the synagogue, and they drove him out, and it says he walked right through them. It's just amazing to have these stories come to life, right? And see the sites where all these things happened, and to feel them, smell it, taste it, everything. It's just... So the Galilee, the Beatitudes, Sermon on the Mount, Peter's house, which many biblical scholars think that the house that's preserved there, Peter, and the ruins there, would be the house that the handicapped man was lowered down through the roof. If you watch The Chosen, in fact, we had some really good people that are connected to The Chosen that were with us on our tour, and the executive producer and his just awesome wife, and they had some great insights because they'd gone there and done research, the actors, just to get a feel for... One is Israeli, in fact, the man that plays Peter, and it's just... So we just had all these... Everybody contributed. Everybody had insights. Everybody had a feel for them and feel for the area. So as we would go to different places, it was really awesome to hear everybody's input. Chris Kimball, who's one of the owners of Legacy Tours that went with us and was what you would call the tour manager, kind of took care of all of us, as well as her knowledge and contribution to understanding things that aren't necessarily well known. You have to dig a little bit to find out, and then once you hear it, you go, "Oh yeah, that makes sense," and just awesome. You could call it esoteric in a way, or you could, like hidden knowledge, but it's hidden in plain view. Just spectacular discussions, and it was awesome. And so, we drove through Bet Shean. We chose not to spend a bunch of time there, but Adele took us there. We got to see this ancient Roman city. It's also where Saul and his son were killed, and I'm trying to think what else took place. It was a major city, Bet Shean. So we got to take a glimpse of that, but we really spent some time in Jericho. But it was rainy, and we couldn't get. We could see the site from a distance and from a roof, and we saw the layout of the ancient city. It's the oldest city in the world, really, that they have said is continual. And this ancient city of Jericho, where the walls came tumbling down, it was amazing. We had this awesome lunch. The people there are just so anxious to have anybody come by right now, and they prepared a feast for us. It was so wonderful, and we got the layout. There's also the Mount of Temptation that you can go see there. A lot of tours won't take you to Jericho. West Bank, which I don't like to use that term, we use Samaria and Judea. Samaria to the north, Judea to the south, and the biblical heartland. But Jericho is significant. We went to the site of Christ's baptism. Now, look, I know there's a site up north right below the Sea of Galilee, and there's a lot of pilgrimages that's where Jesus was baptized, but he wasn't baptized in Galilee. It says that he was baptized in Judea. We even have a primary song that in Judea long ago. That's where he was baptized. Judea's to the south in the Judean wilderness. So, and that's also the proposed site where Joshua led the children of Israel and crossed and parted the river Jordan, which at that point was very wide and marshy, and it parted on dry ground. And the children of Israel passed into the promised land there. It would make sense that that's where Christ would be baptized. And it's also the lowest point of fresh water as it empties in to the Dead Sea. It's the lowest point on earth. And that's very symbolic, in my opinion, that Christ would descend below us all in his baptism and everything he did. So we did the Dead Sea. I already mentioned that. And Qumran, Masada. Qumran's amazing to me. The Dead Sea Scrolls, the verifies, validates. The scriptures, the books that we have in the Bible today, the Old Testament. It's amazing. We have all that, and that's where John the Baptist more than likely dwelt with that community for a period of time, and that's where he basically had his ministry. And these things just get venerated, and things start clicking and making sense. From there, we traveled up to Jerusalem and spent our time there. We went to Bethlehem, saw the shepherd's fields, had an awesome time in Bethlehem and in that area. Now, I've tried 3 times to get to the town of Bethany, and this is where Christ spent so much time. He had his friends, Mary, Martha, and Lazarus, and he'd go back and forth. It'd be on the east side of the Mount of Olives, and on the west side looks of the Mount of Olives looks over the Temple Mount and the city of Jerusalem. So he'd go back and forth, but Bethany, people won't take you there, but our trusty guide, Adele, took us to Bethany and saw Lazarus's tomb, and there's a church there. There was a nice little store. It was so great. It was more than I thought it would be, Bethany, and I felt more than I thought I would feel. To think of all that, it's one of the times that Christ wept was when Lazarus died, and he was able to bring him back from the dead, not in a resurrection sense, but he was dead, and Christ brought him back to life. And wept because of the sorrow of everybody, and for Lazarus himself. So it was. I think the other time I think I could be wrong on this, but the other time was when Christ made his descent from the Mount of Olives, and which we made that same descent from the top of the Mount of Olives. And I'll talk about that in a minute, but just that one of the places that is in commemoration of is when Christ looked over the city of Jerusalem. It's when he said, "Oh, Jerusalem, Jerusalem." And he wept there. So he wept over Jerusalem, and he wept over his friend Lazarus in Bethany. And I just can't tell you how that all feels. Starting at the top of the Mount of Olives, we descended the whole distance all the way down to the Garden of Gethsemane and the Church of All Nations. And just, the feeling is so amazing. We went to the Tomb of the Prophets, which was incredible. I think it was I think it was Russian Orthodox have that. And the priest that was there was so humble and so kind. And he'd spend his whole day in that cave. And, it's proposed that Malachi, Zechariah, Haggai, that these prophets were buried there. And it would make sense that that's where they would be buried. St. Mary's Church, just incredible. You descend down these huge stairway down into the, I guess the crypt of Mother Mary, and it's there's a powerful feeling there. I'm not going to lie. It's very Catholic, and sometimes that is a distraction for some people, but you go by more how you feel in these places than just dismissing them. That's how I kind of look at it. We walk the city of Jerusalem, the old city, from point to point to point, all through it. Caiaphas's palace, where Jesus was tried and stuck in a dungeon and beaten before he went before Pilate. We did the Via Dolorosa, the pools of Bethesda. Sorry, the pools of Bethesda. The Western Wall several times, the Temple Mount, which is always special to me. This time we went to the Temple Institute. I've never been there, and it's in the Jewish Quarter. It's awesome, the presentation they have, and they have all the implements ready. The huge gold menorah sits in the square under bulletproof plastic, I guess it is, and we would eat there and sit there and enjoy that area a couple of different times. It was so great. So the Temple Institute was a highlight. Back up to Galilee, we met this guy. His name is Father Kelly, and he's a pretty famous Catholic priest, very well known, has incredible ministry. He's from Ireland, knows many languages. We spent probably 2 hours with him in Galilee at Magdala, and just learned so much. It was so awesome. He's such a good man and very funny, very quick wit. Well, he invited us to the Shroud of Turin exhibit in Jerusalem at the Notre Dame. I guess it's a cathedral, as well as a hotel, and this exhibit of the Shroud of Turin. And it was absolutely incredible. They didn't have the original. Obviously, the original is very seldom on display. Even in Turin, Italy, they have a replica. Well, they had the replica, but they also had this 3D bronze, I think it was, image that had been created. The evidence, it's overwhelming. It's incredible. We had this awesome dinner, lunch there. They were so kind and nice, and we were going to be paying about $30 or so a person for lunch, and anyway, somebody paid for us, our whole group. We just had miracle after miracle. We had Shabbat dinner, and one very kind soul on our trip paid for that for all of us, because this family can't just do it for free. And this family was so humble, so nice, a rabbi, and did Shabbat dinner for us with his family, married kids and little kids, and we're in this home of theirs, and the warm feeling there, and the food and the thoughts and everything we could ask and talk about. Shabbat dinner. Okay, now I just have to tell you, we went to Shiloh, or you can say Shiloh, and guess what we got to see? The red heifers. The red heifers. They were beautiful. And I think there's 2 or 3, there was 5, I believe, there, and 2 or 3 still qualify for the sacrifice. And it has to be on the Mount of Olives, is what the gal there told me. And she said it'll be on God's time, that will happen. The ashes from the red heifer, you just need one, is for the purification process of the priests to be able to begin the building of the third temple, or some would say the fourth temple, but the third temple. And it's just to see him was so special. And that place where the Ark of the Covenant and the tabernacle were there for 369 years, until lost by the high priest Eli and his sons. I'm trying to think of it was the Philistines that got the ark. It was later returned by them, and because it was causing illness, and that's when David was able to procure it and had it. And then Solomon built the temple where the Ark of the Covenant was housed. So we got to see all that. We were on the go constantly, and it was like these little miracles all along the way. And we felt safe the whole time. We had a little incident the last night of our dinner. We were in it's right near where the Hinnon Valley connects with the Kidron Valley, and it becomes just the Kidron. And right in the bottom there's a road, and we were right down there, and we had the most fantastic meal. But apparently there was a little scuffle out there, and the people that fed us, they had us wait. They said, "Nope, just wait," and then they went, "Okay, run." And then he let us out. Apparently there was some gunfire, but I don't remember. I didn't hear anything. I was kind of at the back, but that was the only thing, and I didn't even feel much of a threat there. But that was the only hint, I would say. It's like I feel safer there than any major city in the United States. That's kind of how I feel. So I know I'm missing things. We'll talk more about it as we go on. I'll have Susie on, and we'll discuss things. But there's a connection that you get to the Savior, His teachings, that you cannot get any other way. At least I can't. I have to see and feel and smell and taste Israel. And those that bless Israel, the Lord will bless. Those that curse Israel, the Lord will curse. And we definitely blessed Israel by being there, by spending some money there, by praying for the people there and the land, and just experiencing everything. We went to the Western Wall tunnels, and that was kind of tricky getting the tour. And Chris got that set up for us, and it was amazing to go see how the depth and how massive that Western Wall is that you just don't see. Well, I think that's it for this video. I'll keep it a little shorter, and we'll talk more. It's good to be back. Thank you for your love and support of this channel, and everything that you've done for us. It's just amazing. I want to thank Legacy Tours for having me host this particular tour. It was a small group, but they were just awesome, and we had such a great time. And I'm just grateful that there were brave people that were willing to not listen to the news in that aspect, and take the opportunity to do a trip of a lifetime, which it really was, a trip of a lifetime. And I'm hoping to get back there this fall and lead another group, and I'll go as many times as I can, and learn as I go. This was my first attempt at doing this, and I don't know how I did, but I had a great time. I didn't take hardly any notes, and I hardly took any pictures this time, because I was just, I don't know, you worry about, it's not that I worry about people, but I was worried about what I was going to be saying or doing, and thinking of the people. And it was just a different experience, and trying to remember where places were. And I got us lost a couple of times, I'll be honest. But if you've been to Jerusalem and you're walking the streets, you get familiar with it. But then if you haven't gone for a few years, it can be confusing. And if you've been driven or dropped off with a bus or a cab or something, you don't really pay attention, where it is. And so that was, but for the most part, everything went pretty smooth. We adjusted a few times, which when you have a smaller group, you can do that. And I think those adjustments were a godsend. They were sent by God to us to do something a little bit different. and it just worked out. So God bless. We'll talk to you soon. We'll fill you more in. I'll get some sleep. I'll get some rest. I know I look and sound just tired, and I guess I am, but it's a good tired. And anyway, we'll talk to you soon. Bye.